Hey, how is it going? This is recording for Floy. We're gonna get going on this coaching session. And since there's no need to introduce and start talking, yeah, we can just go ahead and hop right into it, and we can get started. So, first off, I'm gonna find your character. One moment here. Your hasten in game. I believe, just double checking that. Yes, you are. All right. So, yep. I'll just, skip forwards here, and then I will just be a minute or so looking for something to talk about. Though I guess to address right off the bat over on Fiverr here, you did mention that you had dropped down 500 SR. So why don't we address that to begin with? So of course, I can't sit here and ask you why, ask you a bunch of questions to try to determine why it is that you dropped down 500 SR because you're not here in the chat with me. But I guess let's go over some possible cases. So dropping 500 SR could be a couple different things. First thing I would note is sometimes the case for a lot of people when they drop that far and is tilt queuing is something that a lot of people end up doing. So tilt queuing is when you continue to play over and over and over again, even though you continue to lose or you know you're playing bad or you're tilted, right? So when my recommendation would be set a loss cap on yourself. So if you start to lose, stop playing, right? So you lose 2, 3 games in a row, take a break, take like 30 minutes off, right? 5 minutes off, an hour off, whatever. Take a break, come back, try again. If you keep losing, take a break for the day, right? You can play on a different account. If you want to play ranked, you can play quick play, you can play whatever. Just don't play anymore on your main account, on your main role, right? Just because that's going to lead to tilt queuing. Typically, when you start losing, you keep losing. That's how it works because you get tilted, because you get upset, because you get mad, or even just because you're not playing well, or maybe there's just something you feel like you might just start subconsciously doing things, even if it's not apparent on the surface. So, I'd recommend take a break. Now, like I said, I can't guarantee this is the case. I'm just saying if you feel like this might be the case, I would recommend taking a pause in between games so that you're not just going down 500 SR. Now, let's see, what are some other alternative things? So other alternatives could be that you're just falling into bad habits or you're not really improving enough, right? Which that will go over throughout this whole session, is we'll go over how you can get better, how you can improve. So why don't we just press play here? Like I said before, I'll be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about, and we'll start reviewing things on how you can do better. Almost got domed there, but we got back. Alright, so oh, that's not what I meant to do. That's an oopsie. Alright, so right there, I saw something that we did. That was a problem. So right here, in a moment, we do a couple of what you call overhealing. So overhealing is anytime you attempt to heal people who are already full HP, or even sometimes even just really close to full HP. So for example, if Reinhardt is like 490 HP and he's missing 10 HP and you're in the middle of a fight, sometimes that 10 HP just doesn't matter when you could be shooting people, you could be using abilities, you could be healing somebody else who actually needs healing, right? So and then especially if they're full HP, right? So pay attention to health bars, watch for who needs healing, because this is just flat up wasted time where you do absolutely nothing. And then also can waste ammo as well. So notice here how we do this a couple times on some of our teammates, right? So watch like here, overheal shot. And we do it again in a moment. Overheal shot, right? And that's number 2. We're gonna do it, I believe, 3 more times in a moment. So not there, right? Those are fine. Then we go 3, right? That's overheal 3, 4, 5, right? So all those shots right there, Reinhardt's full HP, those do absolutely nothing, right? Did not accomplish anything one bit. So therefore, don't overheal, right? Watch those health bars. Now, besides that, did our teammates die to Widow headshots? Is that what happened? Alright, so Alright, so firstly, not sure if this is a mistake or not, but like, since I can't ask you, I always have to give the explanation and assume something's wrong. Here we use our shift, and we are way outside of our shift range, right? Your shift has a range of 10 meters, and Roadhog is like 35, 40 meters away from you, right? So make sure we're keeping in mind that range, as shift accomplished absolutely nothing because nobody here needed healing, so it didn't heal anybody. Alright. So we I'll hold on to the thought for the moment. Okay, yeah, no, we're definitely gonna talk about it. So we're at 1 minute and 30 seconds. So let's real quick, we're gonna exit out here, go to the training range. So over on Baptiste, right, you have some Baptiste specific positioning. So when it comes to Baptiste, you are a very close range character to your team. You like to be close to your team. There's a lot of reasons why you like to be close to your team, right? So state some obvious ones. Shift, 10-meter radius, right? If you're far away from your team, shift does nothing for your team, right? Additionally, you have a lot of projectiles in your kit. Your right click is a projectile, your immortality is a projectile, and projectiles are inherently much more difficult to get value with at range for multiple reasons. So, firstly, because they're a lot less accurate, right? When we try to shoot from all the way back here, they could end up just walking out of the way. They could actively move out of the way on I don't know why they do that on purpose, but like, an enemy player team. That's why, for example, enemy, you don't want to try to do that at ranges against enemies because they can dodge it, right? But on teammates, right, they could accidentally walk out of the way. You could end up missing very, very easily. And then the big thing here with immortality and thing as well, and your right click as well, is the fact that it's also going to have a delay, right? So we click, then they get heals a second later, right? We click, they get immortality a second and a half later, right? So there's gonna be a delay on the time it takes for us to get them healing and immortality, which can mean the difference between life and death if they're getting a delay before they're actually getting healed, right? So that's 3 different reasons we gave. You also can't give your ultimate to your team very easily if you're playing like really far away. So like if our team's like right there and we're like all the way up here, well, now we can't really give them our ult very easily, and then if we did, then we wouldn't be able to use it very well, right? So lot of different reasons why we want to be closer to our team, and in that game we were playing like really far away. Now that's not to say that you can never play far away. There's situations where that will be different, but most cases try to be close to your team. A high ground has a lot of advantages the high ground gives you, but if the high ground's like nowhere near where the fight is happening, then high ground's bad, right? Because like if I'm up here and the entire fight is happening all the way over there, yes, high ground's great, but this high ground in this situation is bad, right? So let's go get back into that game. So in this situation, we were on King's Row, so we were playing like really, really far away from our Reinhardt and our tanks, and therefore like our Reinhardt pushes forwards and we're just a mile away from him, right? We can't help him at all. So right here, like our Reinhardt pushes forwards and we just are nowhere to be found like near him, right? Like notice how he needs help in there, and we're just not there to help him because of how far in there they are, right? So we need to be much, much closer so that we can help support them and keep them alive. Okay, additionally, right, look, right now we're hiding from Widowmaker behind this like really flimsy, tiny little piece of cover, right? Versus like, if we just took 2 seconds to walk to the right at any point here, we would be completely safe, right? So notice how we're just kind of like stuck behind this like tiny little pillar, and that's why we're not healing here, because we're stuck behind that tiny little pillar. But like at any point there, we could have just walked to the right and been completely fine, right? So just make sure we're looking to use cover effectively.
Get in here.
So notice how we're a little far back again, right? Notice a lot more overheal shots, right? Where we go overheal and then overheal and then and then that one's like kind of a spam shot onto the floor, and then spam shot onto the wall, right? And then that one was good. Okay, shift usage. Let's talk about shift usage real quick. Firstly, I'm not sure that we are aware of the range thing. Be very aware of the range thing because we're trying to shift once again when nobody is within range that needs healing. Okay, additionally, let's talk about how do you use your shift. So you use your shift in kind of mainly 3 different scenarios. You can use it if you need healing. You can, and like, you're not near a health pack or you don't have an Ana to heal you. You can use it if a bunch of your teammates around you need healing for good team group healing. And then you can also use it for burst healing. So let's say you have somebody like your Ana who's in front of you and she's critical HP and you want to heal her up fast. Then you can use your shift to heal her up really, really fast because you can heal her from your shift and your right click, right? So those are all situations where you can use shift. Notice how we're using it, and absolutely nobody needs healing right now, right? The only person right now who needs healing within 10 meters is Hanzo, who's down like 10 HP, right? Or sorry, like 30 HP, right? So definitely a misuse of shift there. Notice again how we're like not paying too much attention to our front line and we're like lagging very far behind them. Make sure we're keeping up and paying attention to where our team is at, right? And being within line of sight of them. Keep line of sight on your tanks so you can see them and be closer to them.
Out. Out. Regen burst activated. Let them out. Dragon consume you.
Yeah, very nice.
You or me.
Decent timing with the ult and decent placement. So that's not too bad. Oh, need to charge that up a little bit more. Alright, not too shabby. Right, notice how our team is pushed up and we're not really pushing up with them. Okay, so, again, I can't ask you if this is the case, so I'm going to assume that right now our mindset is that we're afraid to go into their spawn because we think going into their spawn is the bad decision, that is bad positioning. So let's talk on that for a little bit. Yes, you are correct. Going to their spawn can in some cases be bad positioning. But it's irrelevant in this situation. So this is a quote from Jane. Jane is a Overwatch I'm not sure if he is currently former Overwatch League coach, very popular streamer coach, right? He says that when one person does something stupid, that's called feeding. When 6 people do something stupid, that's called a strategy, right? So here in the situation, let's say Reinhardt charged into spawn by himself. Let him do that. He's feeding. Not a lot you can do. He's gonna die, right? But if your entire team is pushing up, right, like your Roadhog's in there and Reinhardt's in there, and everybody else is in front of you looking to go in there, then that might be a situation where you want to go in to try to help them out, right? Try to give them support. Maybe throw them on immortality. Maybe give them some heals, right? But because we're sitting so far back, now this becomes a bad decision. What happens if they kill Roadhog and then they kill Reinhardt and then they come to point? Well, now you've lost the fight, and then you sitting on point did absolutely nothing because you just participating in losing the fight. So go in, participate in the fight. Not to say that it's always going to be fantastic to push in their spawn, and sometimes as well, it can be a good thing to push in their spawn. Like right now, I would honestly say that this would not be a too shabby. This is not a bad time to be pushing into the spawn because they're currently down 2 people. If your whole team walks in here and they're down 2 people, the Reinhardt's half HP and your Roadhog's ulting, right? This might actually be a good time to push into their spawn because you have so many advantages working in your favor that the bad positioning is a little bit irrelevant in this situation, right? So I would make sure that you're going in, participate. Aiming a little low there. Make sure you're accounting for your arc. Watch the overhealing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to, going back like 5 seconds, right? We are going to count how many seconds during this fight we are overhealing for. Because we want to I want you to see how it really adds up when you overheal for so long. Like when you overheal so much that it just wastes so much time throughout your gameplay and it really adds up, right? So we have 1, right? So it's 1 second, 2.
All better.
Okay.
Get in here.
Now they need stuff, right? Okay, we might have to go to the next fight because this looks like it might be an over fight very fast here. So maybe we'll look for a different example of one because they were very low during that fight to begin with. Very good immortality usage, though. Do we use shift while they're purple? Rewinding half a second.
You all look like
Nope,
you
we
need
use
some
okay.
healing.
Great immortality usage, great shift usage, right? Really well fought there. Okay, notice how we're back to overhealing. All right, so when people are full HP, you can reload, but I would say so like you kind of have an order of priority, right? Of you firstly, if there's nobody to heal, you first you look around, is there anybody else to heal? If there's nobody to heal, you reload. Then once you're done reloading, you start shooting. You go pew 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 pew, right? That way you do damage. You do, and that's going to get you a lot of value because all this time that we end up wasting, let's say for example we spend like 20% of our game overhealing, then that's an extra 20% we could be shooting and killing things and doing damage, right? Which is so much more value, right? Pretty much when it comes to your gameplay, you should be shooting around 40% of the time. So far, we've barely been shooting. I have not seen very many left clicks happening. We've been mainly spamming right clicks, and there's only so much healing that needs to be happening. People do not need healing every single second of the game. So therefore, when healing's not needed, don't heal. Left click, shoot, right? And that's going to be around 40% of the time. That's not a perfect number, but it's going to be around that. So we're going to wait till like the next fight begins and see if we can count how much you actually overheal. So that you can kind of quantify that and see how much it is. Okay. Bad immortality usage. So firstly, when you use immortality, be thinking about how you can place it around corners and cover, right? So when it comes to throwing immortalities, when you put it smack dab in the middle of the open, they can shoot it and kill it very, very easily. Whereas if you put it on corners and cover and doorways, then it has a lot more of a lifespan. So for example, compare like right here, right? Where every single person on their team can see it, to right here where one person can see it, right? It covers pretty much this exact same radius, except for it's a lot longer of a lifespan. So that's something to keep in mind. Secondly, Reinhardt's the key person we're actually using it on, Reinhardt's not actually in it, right?
I'm on fire.
Okay. Use your shift. Might not even need to go and grab the health pack. Genji is also like 1 HP there, right? Watch his health bar. In this scenario, you have the advantage. Make sure we're paying attention to his health. You hit him one single time and he's dead. You melee him one single time and he's dead. So, but instead we run away when we have the advantage in that situation, right? Probably should be shifting right about now. We also have a Junkrat who's 1 HP. So here in this scenario, because we are not paying attention to his health bar, I don't know, does he get away? Maybe he gets away, right? So let's just assume he gets away. We, in this scenario, not only, so we miss out on a kill, but then we also lose a teammate because of that, right? So we, instead of being up 1, we go down 2, right? Because we miss out. So that's a difference of 3, right? So in this fight, that's a factor of 3. So we could have been up 1, right? But instead we're down 2. Or sorry, no, never mind. I confused that math a little bit. Sorry, instead we're down 2 potentially, right? So which means it's a difference of 2, a factor of 2. Messed up that math slightly. Okay, so we get the kill. Doesn't matter as much. Now it's a factor of 1, but we still let our teammate die when we could have killed him long ago. Okay, notice how we shift when it's not needed again, right? Watch that. Right here when we shift, he does end up being critical after we shift, but that, wasn't really properly timed. Nice cross. I like the crosser placement there and the spam damage. That's good. Okay, so let's see. Fight is beginning. We'll start it. Let's start it around now. Okay, so the fight is starting around now. So we'll start counting overhealing. All right. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, pretty good immortality. I like it.
How about a little extra?
Okay. Never mind. The fight ends instantly again. You know what? Instead of calling it before the fight, I'll wait till I see it and then I'll call it. How about that? I'll wait till I start seeing overhealing happening a ton and then I'll start calling it out.
Regen burst activated.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Fully healed.
Okay, like there we just saw like 5 seconds of overhealing again. Okay, so let's watch it from here, right? So I saw a bunch there, right? So let's just watch. We'll count it. Okay, so
Regen burst activated.
right, we heal Reinhardt up. Okay, so now Reinhardt is full HP from now on. Okay, so it's 1, 2,
Fully healed.
okay, 3. Okay, it's 3 seconds. 4, 5. No, sorry, you're not shooting. My bad. He needs it. Watch how. Notice how we backed up a little too far. 6, 7. Right, we accidentally shot our Ana. Watch for the Ana who's stepping in front of us. Immortality. Notice how. So this one, not a lot you can do with it. It's gonna be smack dab in the middle of the open. But the person we're throwing it for, we're not even throwing it at the person we're throwing it for, right? So make sure we're throwing it at the feet of the person we're throwing it for, right? Because here Reinhardt's not in it. He steps into it, so that's fine.
Let them up.
Do we yeah, we just get immortality. So that's unfortunate.
The payload is approaching its destination.
Alright, so we didn't see any fights where, after like the first fight and whatnot. So I don't think we saw any fights where you went like 10 plus seconds of overhealing, which is good. I have seen people in the past do that, and I have had to comment on it. But we do see very frequent, like 5 seconds per fight of overhealing. So, like for example, right? Let's just assume, right, which you probably get more than this, but let's just say you get 1 fight a minute, right? You probably get closer to maybe like 1.5 fights per minute, right, on average. But let's just say 1 fight a minute. This is a 19-minute game. Let's just subtract 2.5 minutes for time. So it's, let's say 17 minutes, right? So 17 minutes, 17 fights. We're just doing real simple math, right? So that would mean 17 times 5 for our 5 seconds we just said before. So that means that during this game, on average, we would be spending, and this is a low estimate, I lowballed this is a minute and 15 seconds of doing absolutely nothing, right? Doing nothing at all, wasting time, wasting ammo, when you could be shooting, using abilities, reloading, looking for people who actually need healing, right? So there's a lot of things you could be doing with that time. So make sure we're watching that. I've already emphasized overhealing enough. We're gonna step off of that topic for a little bit, right? Because I've already discussed overhealing a lot so far.
Ready for 5. Defend objective A.
All better. Now. I thought you needed a head. Regen burst
Okay,
activated.
maybe not super optimal shift usage there. Reinhardt charges in, not a lot you can do, but once again, notice how it is out of range again for our immortality, so we need to get better at our immortality usage. I will show you a tech about how we can use our immortality a bit better after this game is done. Or not this game, but sorry, whenever next time I see an opportunity to go to the training range, I'll show you a tech that we can use. But besides that, make sure the thing I'm noticing is we're throwing it too short a lot of the time. So make sure we're aiming a little bit higher with our throws, right? Making sure we're getting closer.
Got you good as new.
Okay, maybe another wasted shift. So most of our shifts so far, like 8 out of 10 of them have just been wasted, where it hasn't really done a whole lot.
Regen up.
Okay, once again, another shift where I guess in that situation we might have hit Zarya. I don't know if we hit her or not with it, but Again, we didn't even look around to see if people needed it, right? So watch people's health bars. Okay, we used immortality there.
Regen up.
Okay. Immortality is needed when people are low and in danger, right? When both are the case, right? Um, they're different, right? They're not the exact same thing. I can be in danger and in the middle of their team, or sorry, let me start with the other one, right? I can be critical HP and standing right here and be completely safe, right? I'm not in danger at all. Therefore, would you need an immortality for me if I'm standing around this corner at critical HP? No, I'm not in danger. Why would you need an immortality to keep me alive, right? But at the same time, I can be in danger and standing right here and be full HP, right? So therefore, like if I'm full HP, do I necessarily need immortality right away? Maybe not. Sometimes yes, right? So for example, like up against a Diva Bomb, right? That's happening in 1 second. Like the explosion happens, you're dead. Doesn't matter what HP you are. So that'd be an example, right, of where you need to immortality even if they're not low HP. But typically the conditions are low and in danger, both of them, not one, not the other. Though usually you prioritize the danger over the low, right? So here, Reinhardt is neither low or in danger, right? He's neither of them, right? So let's go back to when we throw immortality at him, right? When we throw immortality at Reinhardt, he is currently bubbled. He currently has you looking at him, so you're going to be healing him soon here. He has half HP. The only people who can look at Reinhardt and shoot at Reinhardt are the Reinhardt and the Genji, right? So in this scenario, Reinhardt doesn't need immortality because you can heal him, right? Very easily. It's not like he's going to be taking an insane amount of damage anytime soon. And then if he does, you can just throw in immortality when he actually needs it, right? So immortality ends up just getting wasted there. So making sure we're looking to use it better. And then notice how because it was out in the open, it kind of just got melted instantly anyways, right? So if we were throwing immortality here, rather than placing it here, we wanted it like over here where it does the exact same thing except for it's around the corner. So look to place it on corners, throw it further because once again, it's a little short. Notice how we're backing like far off away from our team again. And then we don't have immortality for like when we actually need it, right? Our team needed it against the dragon. Reinhardt did not need it, right? And then we don't have that for when it's needed, and we can't save him.
Get over here and heal up. Regen burst activated.
Okay, notice shift usage once again. We used it before when we could not on our screen. We couldn't even see. Okay, maybe I saw that there, but he is out of range currently, so nobody within range is able to get shift. So I think we might just be unaware of the fact that it has a range on it. It's 10 meters, right? So make sure we're paying attention to that, right? Because he can't receive any of that healing. Yeah, good. Maybe like a little hastily placed, right? Just having that curved a little bit to the left would be better, so that like we can hit Reinhardt and Zarya a little bit better with it. Besides that, pretty good timing, pretty good placement. Not a lot of complaints with it. Just maybe it could have been placed slightly better. Once again, immortality doesn't do anything. Nobody's low. Nobody's in danger. We also place it out in the open when there's a wall like 2 inches to the side here, right? So once again, very poor.
Was you or me?
Okay, once again, out of range of our shift usage, right? So watch this, how we use it, and you can actually see, oh, I guess you can't see it there, but you can see it on our screen. You see that radius, that's our shift usage, right? That's our healing. We can slow this down and see how far that goes, right? So it actually does not end up reaching them, right? It runs out before it reaches them just because we're outside of that range. Okay, and then because we waste immortality, right, we don't have immortality there to save them all. Okay, so I want to emphasize your Uh-oh. Okay, so I want to emphasize your immortality is really incredibly important, right? Your immortality is basically a second ultimate, right? It gets so much value out of your mortality that we could have potentially, not guaranteed, but we could have maybe won that, survived that fight, right? Against the nano blade, or sorry, I think they nano blade and grabbed, right? There's a possibility we could maybe have lived through that if we had immortality, because it's a very powerful ability. Again, not a guarantee. We could have, in the last fight, when we could have immortality against the dragon, maybe that becomes a winnable fight because our teammates stay alive, right? So keeping your team alive is incredibly valuable as a support. And this ability is one of the best abilities in the game at keeping your teammates alive, yet we're not really utilizing it well. So I would implore you look to use it better. Here as well, we do back up really late, right? We kind of sit there and poke, but we're just shooting a shield, right? You shooting a shield is not valuable at all because the fight's over. This is accomplishing nothing, and then this just ends up staggering you further, right? So make sure that we're backing up when there's no reason to be staying in. So when a fight is lost, you look to get out or you let them kill you. Don't be in between, because when we're in between, we end up dying, and then now, look, our team respawns all ahead of us, and they have to make a decision. Either they wait for you, in which case you've just wasted a bunch of time, or they walk in without you, and then now that means that they're going to be at a big disadvantage for this next fight, because they don't have you, right? They choose to walk in without you, so now look how far back you are while they're in the middle of pushing. They could have even gone further than that if they wanted to, right? So just make sure you're not staggering. Shift wasted again. So far that has been so many shifts doing nothing. Okay, let's see. What happens to our Reinhardt there? Immortality for our Reinhardt reacted slightly slowly to that. Okay, it's because we were trying to heal the soldier up there. Yeah, again, notice how far back you are. That's just gonna make it 10 times harder to do anything. Okay, nice. All right.
Regen burst activated. Good job, team. Let's keep it going.
Okay. Probably another wasted shift usage when maybe again in this fight we could have had it to use. Okay, let me relook at this for a second. So we throw mortality, that's good. Okay, so it actually does reach over. I was concerned here that they'd be like out of line of sight of it, but I guess because of the weird interactions of the card, it saves them. Notice though that if we throw it, like, it was out in the open again, but like if we threw it like right here, well, now that's much more difficult for them to hit, so therefore it actually stays alive longer. So make sure we're looking to get it to stay alive as long as possible so it can do as much as possible. Yep, pretty good ult. I like it. Though the problem was the dragon. Were we watching for the dragon? Yep, so the dragon was being fired before we placed our ult, so watch for that, be aware of it. That's really good placement, unless they're dragoning right on top of it, right? So make sure you're keeping your ears open, your eyes open. Audio awareness, right? Some things for audio awareness. I'd recommend turning up your normal volume if needed, turn down or off your music volume. Then make sure that you have your surround sound enabled on your headset. If it is not an option, come to in-game and turn on Dolby Atmos for headphones. This is going to allow you to actually, hear sound that surrounds you, right, which is very helpful. Then besides that, you could have all the settings be pretty bad and still have good audio awareness if you are actively paying attention to your audio, right? You're paying attention to footsteps and gunshots and abilities and ultimates, right? And then that's going to allow you to have good audio awareness, right? So we want to make sure paying attention, being aware of our surroundings. Okay, very nice.
Good when I woke up in the morning.
Though notice that here when we're like when we're shooting at the Genji that we're just kind of like running away further from the fight and further from the fight, right? So that by the time we're out here, like we could have done that exact same thing on Genji from like right here, and then that means that we can shoot help the Reinhardt out, or like we could have done the same thing from like right here, for example, and that means that we can actually see and help Reinhardt as soon as Genji's dead, or even before Genji's dead, right? It's a bigger priority for you to heal than to get a kill, right? Just flat up, because if you heal and then somebody on your team dies, then your kill doesn't do anything. It didn't accomplish anything. But if you heal your Reinhardt and keep him alive, and then your Zarya kills the Genji, well, now that's, you're staying alive and getting a kill, which is both. So always prioritize healing over damaging. Healing always comes as a priority over damage, and then damage comes when healing is not needed, right? So pay attention to people who need healing. Make sure we're positioning to where we can actually see them. Again, note how we're positioning to where we cannot see our team. That's one of the boxes you have to check off as a Baptiste player is, can I see my team? Here, answer is no. You cannot see half of your team from there.
Got you good as new.
Yeah, that shift was fine.
Get in here. Get in here.
So unfortunately, like she backed off like the moment we threw this. Not too bad. I think that's fine. A fine immortality usage. Like I think that's okay. We're trying to keep our full church Zarya alive. I think that's okay.
Regen burst activated.
Misused shift though. Again.
All better. Now.
Okay, there we took our attention off of our Lucio, who is like shattered on the cart, and we like weren't really paying attention to him. So here, when there's like a Reinhardt on top of him, and he's shattered, and he's low health, or down on health, right? Might be a situation where we need to heal, but we continue to damage, right? So healing is definitely needed in that scenario. Again, so you're Reinhardt there. That's a situation where you can't do anything to help your Reinhardt. There's nothing you can do there. Good damage. Okay. Notice how you're walking in a straight line, and that's what ends up getting you taking a lot of damage, right? We just walk straight forwards, right? And then that's what gets you makes you take a bunch of damage, and then possibly immortality. Immortality ing. That's a weird sentence statement. My bad. And that just a little bit later probably could have helped you to stay alive through that. So in that situation, don't walk in straight lines would be my recommendation. That's unfortunate. Immortality there is an option. Immortality there on Reinhardt is an option. Immortality there on Lucio is an option. Right, so Immor just comes a little bit late during that fight.
They brought one back.
Okay, notice how we're just a little far away again, right? Which just isn't great. We just a little too far. We are outside of range of our shift, and then that just messes with stuff. Means that it's more difficult to heal her, it's slower.
Good job, team. Let's keep it going. Out.
60 seconds.
Let them out.
Okay, if you're looking for like slightly more optimal positioning, just placing it on the corner here could give your team a little bit more space to work with. Because otherwise, like, look at this Zarya, for example. If you put it on the corner, Zarya can just walk up and shoot through it. Now she has to walk all the way over to here to be able to see through anything, and it's also like a little farther back. Here they can, they walk around this left side and get on the corner very easily, but if you angle it, now you have a lot more space to cover, where it covers a lot more space. So just working on those angles a little bit better could help a little bit, and then the cart also moves in front of it, which messes with it a little bit. Honestly, your ultimate usage is probably one of the better parts of your kit. Just a little bit of stuff to work on.
Get in the immortality field.
Okay. Overhealing, watching the shift usage there again.
The checkpoint.
Hey, notice how you're like pretty far back again, rather than being close to your team, you're putting yourself far away. Additionally, you taking that high ground would probably be a lot of value going up to where your Hanzo's at, so being closer to the fight would be a lot more valuable here. Okay, because we're far away, we end up needing to use, I don't even think we need to use immortality, like, here, right, do I need to actually use immortality, right? Yes, okay, never mind. You're right. We need to use immortality, but if we heal them a little bit faster, we probably wouldn't have, especially, like, so if we are closer, we can burst heal them with our shift, and we probably don't need to use immortality, but I think that's, once we make that bad decision, then immortality is fine there. We just needed to be closer, so we can actually heal him sooner, pay attention to his health sooner.
Recent enemies being revived. Get in here.
Okay. Immortality. Probably not needed because he has the shield up, right? Like, I don't. The problem is, right? The issue, right, is that if Reinhardt dies, it doesn't matter as much because he respawns and he comes back. You're already down Hanzo. He comes back. It wastes you 15 seconds, right? But if you, therefore, right, like here, if you save his life and he lives, and then you come into the fight, and then they land a big fat shatter, and you don't have immortality to save your team, well, then you just lose the fight. That could end up costing your team ultimates that you use, right? So it could end up wasting grab and end up wasting your window. And then that could end up just losing you the fight, which means that you've not only wasted 15 seconds, but you've also wasted an additional like 25 seconds that the fight lasted. So not just 15, it takes you like, 35, or sorry, like 40 seconds, right? So little bit different in time wise, little bit difference in how much resources wise. So ultimately here, it's probably better that we try to let him stay alive through his critical, right? Because he's not in a ton of danger. He has a shield, he has his whole team. You can heal him, Lucio can heal him, Zarya can tank for him. You have shift in 2 seconds, right? There's so many different things that are saying Reinhardt can probably live this, that mean that, probably immortality's not needed here. And then we could probably therefore use immortality in the next fight, right? Like, does Reinhardt actually ever dip below or dip down to like the 25? I don't think he does. Yeah, he dips down to 55, and then he gets healed up, and then we immortality then, right? So he never actually dips low enough to die, right? So just make sure paying attention to that danger level. We want to be aware of the danger level that he's at.
Let them out.
Okay, now let's discuss a little bit, because it has been a very long time since I've last done a session with you. I don't recall exactly maybe what we went over last time, so I'm going to assume we did not go over this. And if we did, this is just a friendly reminder for you. You might be thinking, well, we've been talking a ton about like paying attention to danger levels and paying attention to my team and paying attention to all these different things, but being aware is like, it seems like a very vague, complicated topic. How do I get better at awareness? Like, I know I can get better at, maybe I can get better at I don't know, shooting more often, but like, how do I get better at awareness? So you get better at awareness the exact same way that you get better at anything that you're trying to improve at. And that is that while you are playing, you're going to focus while you're playing, focus on awareness. What that means is that you're not going to autopilot, you're not going to just play to play, and contrary to popular belief, you're not going to purely play to win, as when you purely play to win, that means that you end up stagnating, whereas when you play to improve, you end up winning more. Now, what that looks like within your gameplay is you're going to be thinking to yourself, awareness, 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 right? And when you give yourself a constant reminder to think about your surroundings and your awareness, that's all that awareness is thinking about your surroundings and thinking about all these different things you've been talking about, thinking about where's my team at, thinking about what's health bars at, what's just checking them, right? So when you give yourself those reminders, your awareness will be better. When your awareness is better and you practice this for a certain amount of time, that will eventually mean that it forms it as a positive habit. Once it forms as a positive habit, you no longer need to work. You no longer need to work on it as much. You don't need to put as much effort into it. It just kind of comes naturally now, right? So then you can move on to something else to work on. Now, I would recommend don't try to do everything all at once. That will get overwhelming. Don't try to go over all these different things. Instead, focus on one category of things or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category, right? So that's just the basics, the fundamentals of improvement at your gameplay or anything else. Okay, notice the literal exact thing that I said could happen happens. You used immortality when it wasn't needed. Immortality, they shatter. Immortality could have saved your Lucio, right? And maybe your Zarya, no, your Zarya is good, right?
remaining.
Let's see our ult usage.
Let them out.
All right, again, place it on the corner, right? Place it all the way up here. Typically, if you have an option, place it on the corner, right? So look at the difference between the two. Here, go to the very edge of this, and this is the limit of your line of sight. Your line of sight is right here. So if they go beyond where Mercy is, they're completely safe. They have cover. Now let's see if we place our ultimate right here on the corner, right? Then where do they have to go? Well, you can see them anywhere there. They have to go all to get away from you. They have to go in here, back behind here, back here. So that not only creates so much space for your team, it means they have to run so far. You probably kill them in that time it takes them to run away, right? Whereas here they have cover they can get behind. And notice that's exactly what happens, right? You can't shoot them because they all duck around that corner, so you can't actually see them, right? So make sure that we put our ultimate on the corner so we can actually get value out of it. But besides that, good timing. Timing has been excellent. I like that you're not holding on to it as well. That's good. Both of those are good.
60 seconds remaining.
Good shift usage.
We're making progress. Огонь по готовности.
See, when healing is needed, we know what to do because we're heal botting. But when healing is not needed, we seem to struggle a little bit, right? We seem to not know what to do when healing is not needed. So when we need to throw immortality, we're good. When we need to shift, we're good. When we need to throw healing out, we're good. But it's all those times where healing is not actually needed that we're struggling with, and then we waste our abilities and we waste our time and we be inefficient and we overheal, right? Because we're not paying attention to health bars and we're not paying attention to danger levels. And then when people don't need healing and don't need our abilities, then we end up wasting all this time and resources, right? So that's probably one of the biggest parts of our gameplay so far, right? The biggest just like overall themes is that.
Need healing. I need healing. I need healing.
Yep, good job pressing that. I like that you're pressing I need healing.
Regen burst activated.
Okay. Watch here how we shoot at Wrecking Ball, right? So
I need healing.
so compare these two together, right? So we are shooting at our team, right? Relatively smooth, right? Smooth aim. We're going pew, pew, pew. And then look at this when we're shooting at Wrecking Ball, right? How we start looking at Wrecking Ball and then we start like doing like micro flicks, right? Look at our camera there, It's very shaky. We're flicking randomly. Do it on Mercy too. Right. So once we start shooting, we start flicking around. Flicking is only needed in certain instances, right? Flicking is needed up against fast-moving targets. Flicking is needed when like someone sneaks up behind you, because flicking is when you have to when your crosshair needs to travel very very fast. So if someone sneaks up behind up behind me, I have to turn around very very fast to shoot at them. You can flick if somebody just appeared on your screen, but when you don't need to flick is when you're already aiming directly at people. That's when it's just gonna do more harm than good. It's when you're just gonna end up flicking off of the person. So don't flick in those instances. It's not necessary, right? Would recommend against it.
All better. Now. Get in here.
Oh, so it went to the right place, but
All better.
look at where we're. So before it hits this,
Get in here.
okay, so it ends up hitting that and going straight down. But before that, we throw it directly on the cart, which probably means that Hanzo's gonna leap out of it. So we end up throwing it accidentally into a better spot, probably, is what I'd say. Watch Mercy's health bar there, because we probably could have shot at Mercy when she was 1 HP, right? So watch how your team. Look at Mercy, right? Like 1 HP flying through the open. Probably could have shot at her at any point there, except for looking at ball and shooting at ball.
Regen up. Let them out.
Yeah, I think that's a good immortality or good ult. Make sure we're not leaping out of it though. Very nice shots. Okay, good shots.
When I woke up in the fall.
Fire at
You're fully
will.
healed.
All right. So we are going to exit out here. We're going to go. So now we are going to do a quick review. We're going to go over the main points and then wrap up the session from there. So here's before we go and get into that,
No
one
dying
tech
on
thing I
my
was going to
watch.
show you for landing your immortalities at a longer range. Though of course, if you're positioning closely to your team, you're not going to need to as often. But this is a handy tech anyways. Your right click and your immortality have the exact same projectile path. So if I shoot here, immortality is going to go to the exact same spot. So if you're trying to throw immortality at far away, throw a right click in there and see where the right click goes first, right? And then if right click goes where you want it to go, then you can throw immortality in with it, right? So that's just a tech tip, right? I recommend trying that out. So besides that, let's hop into the rest. Abilities, shift usage. You shift when you need healing, when a big group of teammates need healing, and if somebody needs burst healing, right? Don't just randomly pop it when it's not needed, because then it just doesn't do anything, right? And then you don't have it for when it is needed, right? Besides that, immortality. Immortality is an ultimate on a cooldown. It's very, very important that you get good value out of this because it's so powerful. So make sure you're looking to do things with it. Make sure you're putting it on corners and using cover. That way it stays alive longer. Make sure that you are, let's see what else. Just put effort into it. Make sure that you're paying attention to danger levels and health bars of teammates, right? You need to immortality when people are low and in danger. Not one, not the other, unless it's like a one-shot ability such as a Diva Bomb or a Pulse Bomb, right? Those are the exceptions to the low health thing, right? But pay attention to those because we ended up throwing it a lot when it wasn't needed, and then we didn't have it for when it was needed, right? Overall, ability usage probably goes to like a medium-high priority for you to work on. Besides that, ultimate usage. Really the only thing was like we had good timing with it for the most part. We didn't hold on to it. It was just the placement, right? Placement on those corners. Make sure that we're not like like we'd have a corner there and then we like place it back here, right? So make sure we're just placing it on that corner so it gets max value. Tilt it to the side, right? So notice how if I put it here, it gives us a very like if the enemy team's there and our team's here, if I place it here, it gives us a very awkward angle to work with to where like we have to come over here and like we don't really have much room to work with, right? It just becomes pretty awkward. Whereas if we place it this way, right, long ways, well, now we have a lot more space to work with where we can move all along this space and be shooting through it. So it means our team doesn't have to stack up on like on top of each other to shoot through it, right? So that's just some things. So that overall, not a very high priority. That's like a low to medium priority. Nothing massive. Maybe even a low priority, around that range. Okay,
No wasted
mechanics,
effort.
make sure that we are not randomly flicking when we're shooting, especially with enemies. Make sure that we are not overhealing. Overhealing is a massive thing, right? Pay attention to health bars of teammates, and do they actually need me to heal them? If they don't, do anything else. Literally anything, right? There's a little bit of a priority here, right? So you're gonna check, do they need healing? Then you're gonna, if they don't, you check, do any other teammates need healing, right?
Sure me.
If they don't, you can probably, I probably say after that you check, is there something to shoot at? If there's something to shoot at, left click stuff. If there's nothing to shoot at, right, then you can reload, right? If you've checked all of those boxes, right, you can also look like for, do I need to use my abilities, right? Do I have my ultimate? What's happening in tab? What's happening around me? Just being aware of our surroundings, right? So just looking to do anything else with that time. Besides that, I think that's about it within mechanics. Overall, that probably goes to like a medium priority for you to work on,
Well,
right?
you tried your best.
Then moving on, positioning. Make sure that you're positioning near your team. Don't position far away. Honestly, I think that was like the only thing within positioning. You did great on everything else. I think that was the only issue. Make sure we're positioning close to our team because most of your kit relies on it. You need to be close to them to shift. Remember, shift is 10 meters. I forgot to mention that. It's a 10-meter range. You need to be close so that you can immortality faster and more accurately, and that you can heal faster and more accurately, and that you can ultimate for everybody more accurately, right? So make sure you're closer to your team.
Healing.
High grounds, right? Like if they're applicable and in the fight,
Have
high
you
grounds are
considered a
fantastic.
different
Positioning,
line of work?
look to take it if it's in the
Select
fight
them
and it's
out.
gonna do stuff for you. Besides that, overall, like that, it was only like one thing, so it wasn't too high on the list. So, but it was still a little bit higher. So maybe like it's like a low to medium or like the low end of a medium. So that might sound a little bit complicated, but like low to medium on the spectrum,
No
but it
wasted
could be a
effort.
medium just on the lower end
Felt
of the
good when I woke
medium,
up in the
right?
morning.
And then finally we have awareness, paying attention to what is my team up to, where are they at, make sure we're paying attention to our teammates. That goes a little bit into mechanics as well, as like sometimes you just didn't look at a Reinhardt and we let them die, right? So pay attention to your tanks. What are they up to? Who needs healing? Make sure we're not letting them just run away from us and us not being able to see them. That was another thing within positioning I forgot to say, is make sure you can see your team and you have line of sight on them, right? Back to awareness, right? Pay attention to their health bars. Pay attention to their danger levels. Pay attention to where's the enemy team at? What are they up to? Pay attention to what ultimates are happening and what's happening in the fight, and are we winning or are we losing? Should I be backing up, right? Don't stay in once the fight's over, look to get out if possible or let them kill you, right? So there's just a lot of odds and ends things. Overall, awareness was like a medium priority for you to work on. So let's put that all in order real quick. Number 1 was ability usage. Number 2 was mechanics. Number 3 was probably awareness. Number 4 was positioning, and then number 5 was ultimate usage. Right, so that's your just list all in order. Let me know. That's about it. So let me know if you have any questions, and then you can get back to me over on Fiverr. And then yeah, I will, after you watch through this, go and mark the order as or I'm going to mark it as delivered. You can mark it as complete and then leave a review. If you like this session, man, feel free to come back for more, right? I have what you call a subscription feature. So if you're interested in more
Felt good when
sessions,
I
what you
woke
can
up in the
do
morning.
is go and get that, and then that's 20% off your orders, which is fantastic. There's no downside. You can always cancel it, so it's not like you're locked into anything. Besides that, how that works is you just order a session and then customize it however you want, and then you can just get that session to repeat once a month, right? That's pretty much how that works. Other than that, if you ever have any other questions at any point, just feel free to message me anytime. Be happy to get back to you over those, so just let me know. All right, it was very nice
No
not talking to
wasted
you, but interacting through text with you again. Feel free to come back whenever. I will see you around. Bye.